Hamas has accused Israel of deliberately trying to disrupt the Gaza ceasefire deal by blocking the release of Palestinian prisoners. A Hamas statement said the Israeli move was a clear violation of the agreement. The release was meant to take place after 6 Israeli hostages were freed by Hamas on Saturday, but it was delayed indefinitely by Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the release wouldn't happen until the next handover of hostages was guaranteed and without what he called the humiliating ceremonies shown on television. Our correspondent Mark Lowen is in Jerusalem. Mark, how serious is this delay and the kind of dispute over it?
It's a very serious blow to a very fragile ceasefire, Lauren. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, Hamas had threatened to suspend the weekly exchange of hostages, accusing Israel of violations back then. Regional mediators then sprung into action, Egypt and Qatar managing to get the ceasefire back on track. And now it looks like it's imperiled once again. There are a few things that are angering Israel. Last week, you might remember a couple of days ago, in fact, that Hamas handed over a body to Israel, which it says was the body of the dead hostage Shiri Bibas, but it was not her. The Forensics Institute here in Israel found that it was an unidentified Gazan woman, and then Hamas handed over the correct remains a day later. That deepened the turmoil of the Bibas family and many here in Israel. Added to that, you've got the sort of weekly propaganda show, the PR show in which these stage-managed releases happen in Gaza, which infuriates Israel. And then last night, Hamas posted a video of 2 Israeli hostages in a Hamas vehicle at yesterday's release of the 3 other hostages, watching it live next to the stage, and in which they apparently plead and implore Benjamin Netanyahu to secure their release. That's been denounced by the father of one of those 2 hostages as a new level of torture. And so what happened late last night is that around 600 Palestinian prisoners who were due for release from the Offa prison in the occupied West Bank had already boarded buses outside the prison, only for that Israeli order of suspension to come through, and then they were forced to disembark. And so, yeah, a very serious blow.
So what do we expect to happen next if there isn't the exchange of these prisoners? Is there a contingency plan? What do the negotiators do then?
Well, Hamas have condemned it as a blatant violation, in their words, of the ceasefire agreement. A reminder that among the 602 Palestinian prisoners, dozens of prisoners were convicted of life sentences and long sentences for very serious crimes. But the majority were rounded up after the 7th of October, and some of them held without charge. Now, their families are obviously extremely upset. There were photos of their relatives dispersing outside the prison, some of them in tears. What is meant to happen next is that next Saturday, the second stage of the ceasefire deal is due to come into place, which would foresee the release of all remaining Israeli hostages, but also an Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. Now, that is fiercely opposed by the right wing and far right of the government, and there have long been concerns that Benjamin Netanyahu will stall that, or indeed actually give in to the far right's demands to resume the war in Gaza. And the 2 sides, Israel and Hamas, were due to have begun negotiations on getting to the second phase of the ceasefire 10 days ago in Qatar. Those talks have not begun. So already the delays are holding up potentially the second phase of the ceasefire, and now it is looking ever more in doubt.
Mark Lowen, thank you very much indeed.